Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
On Sunday night, pro-Palestinian protesters marched through the streets of Philadelphia. At one point, stopping at the Jewish-owned restaurant Goldie and chanting.
Goldie, Goldie, you can't hide! Genocide!
Goldie, which serves primarily falafel sandwiches, is owned by a pair of James Beard Award-winning restaurant owners who are Jewish and specialize in Israeli food.
It's not enough for them to steal our land! It's not enough for them to kill our people! They're stealing our ethnic food as well!
The witness who provided this video told CNN the protesters only stayed for about 5 minutes before moving on through the city. The larger, planned protest ultimately marched across nearly 20 city blocks. There was no apparent damage at Goldie, and police did not say whether there were any reports of vandalism at the restaurant. However, local, state, and federal leaders quickly and forcefully condemned the demonstration at this Jewish business as anti-Semitic.
What we saw last night was not peaceful protest. What we saw last night, in my opinion, was blatant anti-Semitism.
The White House releasing a statement Monday reading in part, "It is anti-Semitic and completely unjustifiable to target restaurants that serve Israeli food over disagreements with Israeli policy." This behavior reveals the kind of cruel and senseless double standard that is a calling card of anti-Semitism. This latest incident just one of many recently charged moments across the country. In Williamsburg, Virginia, a festival organizer came under criticism Sunday after a Jewish organization said an upcoming menorah lighting was canceled because the event, quote, did not want to appear to choose sides in the Israel-Hamas conflict. The festival organizers said the lighting was never officially scheduled and the event has never had any religious affiliations. Meanwhile, in Burlington, Vermont, where 3 Palestinian students were shot over the Thanksgiving weekend, one, Hisham Arwatani, remains hospitalized, his mother telling CNN he is now paralyzed from the chest down. Authorities are still investigating whether the gunman was motivated by hate. Back in Philadelphia, Goldie was busy for the lunch rush Monday, as many went out of their way to support the local Jewish business.
It actually brought me almost to tears when I was standing in line and seeing how people kept coming in and how backed up they were, really. It was beautiful.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
Mr. Santos, your reaction.
Booted out of Congress, George Santos is rebooting, now joining Cameo, the celebrity video message platform.
Don't let the haters get to you.
Engaging in everything from birthday to holiday greetings and pep talks on Cameo, the platform's co-founder says Santos raised his price on Cameo today from $75 to $200 due to the demand. Demand from even inside the Capitol, with Senator John Fetterman buying a Santos Cameo clip to tweak Senator Bob Menendez, who, like Santos, is also under federal indictment.
You stand your ground, sir, and don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
This comes as the Republican is now on what seems like a revenge tour against those who voted to expel him from Congress.
That is going to be the undoing of a lot of members of this body, because this will haunt them in the future.
Santos has already gone after 4 House members on X, threatening to file ethics complaints.
Usually you see revenge as this sort of dish that they do more privately, and they find sort of a moment where, to serve it cold. But here, he's serving it hot, he's coming on Twitter, and he's definitely trying to make a bomb and make an explosion with what he says.
NBC's Saturday Night Live gave Santos a send-off this past weekend with a Wolf Blitzer impersonator.
Disgraced and now expelled Congressman George Santos is giving his final press conference.
Okay, enough!
But Santos is hinting he'll dictate his own career in the public eye, now that he's cut off from his $174,000 a year House salary and benefits.
I'll definitely be writing a book. I have refused every single offer for a documentary.
And he said he won't rule out something other disgraced politicians have done, a possible appearance on ABC's Dancing with the Stars.
Maybe in the future, if I find the chutzpah to go on television and embarrass myself with my 4 left feet, maybe.
But Santos also has to contend with a federal trial next year on 23 charges, ranging from identity theft to wire fraud to using donor money for Botox. He's pleaded not guilty. As for how that could affect his media career,
the things that used to get you pushed out and make you disappear from politics and maybe the public eye is now maybe raising your elevation a lot higher, especially since he refused to sort of back away from it in sort of a Trump-like approach.
Like the Advocate channel on Facebook for the best way to get updates on stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's Top 2 pick.
Donald Trump attempting to turn the table on warnings his return to the White House would pose a threat to American democracy.
Joe Biden is not the defender of American democracy.
The former president, who is facing felony charges over his attempts to overturn the 2020 election, claiming President Joe Biden is the real risk to the country.
Joe Biden is the destroyer of American democracy. It's him and his people. They're the wreckers of the American dream.
The spokesman for the Biden campaign calling Trump's comments a, quote, desperate attempt at distraction. Trump's attacks come as Biden and his allies frame the 2024 election as a choice between democracy and authoritarianism, signaling how both candidates are increasingly focused on a potential general election rematch, even as the first votes in the Republican nominating contest won't be cast for another 6 weeks.
We have to stand up for American values embedded in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, because we know the MAGA extremists have already proven they won't. We have to stand up for our Constitution, our institutions of democracy, because MAGA extremists have made it clear they're not going to.
Democrats aren't the only ones sounding the alarm about Trump's candidacy.
One of the things that we see happening today is a sort of a sleepwalking into dictatorship in the United States.
In his latest bid for the White House, Trump has continued to rail against democratic institutions and make false claims about the 2020 election.
They rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024.
He also suggested the U.S. Constitution should be terminated in a social media post. And the former president has outlined plans to dramatically reshape the federal government, including a pledge to use the Justice Department to target political opponents.
I mean, if I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them. Mostly that would be, they would be out of business. They'd be out of the election.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. Here's our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
House Speaker Mike Johnson told Fox News Saturday he believes Republicans have enough support to move forward with an impeachment inquiry vote.
I believe we will. I suspect no Democrats will assist in this effort, but they should.
Johnson faces an uphill battle as he leads with a very thin Republican majority, and he's receiving pressure from the hardline members of his party to show movement in this investigation into the president and his son's foreign business dealings.
A formal impeachment inquiry vote on the floor will allow us to take it to the next necessary step, and I think it's something we have to do at this juncture.
In a statement, a White House counsel's office spokesperson called the probe baseless and politically motivated, adding, quote, they should be working on real issues Americans actually care about. During an interview with NBC's Meet the Press, Republican presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis said he thinks a Biden impeachment inquiry is justifiable, but added that House Republicans should be cautious ahead of the 2024 elections.
I think they run the risk of doing an inquiry that doesn't necessarily lead anywhere while they've been ignoring a lot of the problems that our voters are talking about. So make sure you're not ignoring all these other issues and don't use that inquiry as kind of a Trojan horse to not then meet your responsibilities on all these other things.